conditions are going to continue to deteriorate very rapidly from this point on, and there are life-threatening situations that will present themselves to us between now and 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So I want everybody to have a heads up if they don't already. I've just received my 5th briefing from the National Weather Service on the development of Hurricane Nate. We're now feeling the impacts of the hurricane. I felt them personally myself at about 1:16 today, which was a bit earlier than we had expected. As we have said many, many times, slight adjustments in the track or the intensity can change all of the recommendations that we made. So you have to stay focused, and you have to stay involved, and you have to stay prepared. The National Weather Service shared that this storm is moving very fast. I believe it's moving somewhere between 22 and 25 miles an hour. That's unprecedented in my experience. That brings good things and bad things, because it's going to hit you hard, it's going to hit you fast, and if you're in the way, you're not going to be able to get out of it, which argues that please pay attention to the recommendations that we are going to make. It is very likely now that we could see Category 2 hurricane winds in some parts of the area that we have. Of course, the cone of discomfort is Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. They continue to tell us that even though the course of it is moving in one direction, it can change very rapidly from time to time. So if you're anywhere around it, it basically means that you are in it. Let me say it again. We could get Category 2 winds at 100 miles an hour. I think we've already experienced somewhere between 25 miles an hour. As you know, at 35 miles an hour, the buses stop, the planes stop, and we're expecting that that's going to happen sooner rather than later. Residents should, as of right now, wrap up any activities that you're involved in and get yourself in a place where you and your family are going to be safe. Today, I visited a number of our drainage pump stations, met with some of our pump operators. They are in a good place. They're working very hard. Paul Rainwater will give us a more detailed update on the activities at the Surge and Water Board in a minute. Councilmember James Gray and I also visited with residents and first responders in Venetian Isles to highlight the need for evacuation and preparations for areas outside of levee protection. Councilmember at Large Williams was about the city today, meeting with residents as well, trying to keep them informed and in communication with work that we are doing. At the New Orleans Fire Department engine number 31, where we were today, which is outside of the levee system, it remains fully staffed, and they will throughout the night to respond to life-threatening emergencies for those individuals that did not heed the mandatory evacuation order of the city. I met with some of those individuals today. I admonished them. I asked them to please leave. Some of them insisted on staying. Our firefighters will be out there all night, and I want to thank our USAR team because they do great work. They're equipped, they're manned. That new fire station that we have out there is hurricane ready, and I'm sure that they will perform as they always do, leaning forward and heroically, and I want to thank them, as well as all the other first responders, by the way, from the police department, EMS, the National Guard, the Coast Guard, all of the Entergy workers, 1,800 strong, ready to kind of put themselves in a place to help respond. It does not help them, though, for the citizens not to cooperate and to get themselves in a situation where the first responders have to go rescue them in places where they should not go. That threatens everybody else. So this is the moment that I've now been talking about for 3 days, where in order to get this right, the residents have to really work with us as we move forward, because outside of the levee system, there could be, this is a could be, 7 to 11 feet of storm surge near the Wrigley's and areas such as Lake Catherine and the Irish Bayou. We're planning for 3 to 5 feet storm surge around Lake Pontchartrain as we speak. The National Weather Service continues to stress that the majority of serious impact and storm surge will likely occur this afternoon, this evening, and overnight, which argues again that it's really time to get off of the street and to get wherever you're going to get, and just hunker down and hope that by tomorrow morning when you wake up, this storm, which as you know is moving very rapidly, will be through us. So given this challenge, that is why I've instituted a mandatory curfew that is going to begin at 7 o'clock tonight and end tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. I want to repeat something. The National Weather Service just said from this moment on, because this storm is moving so quickly at an unprecedented speed, that conditions are going to deteriorate rapidly. So although the mandatory is in place at 7 o'clock, now would be a good time to go ahead and get yourself wherever you think you're going to be. Persons traveling for legitimate reasons such as work are going to be allowed to do so. But again, as I've said, I'm strongly cautioning people to stay off the roads during the height of the severe weather, which I believe we're in right now. Now, as we do in all emergency events, we've all begun, and you can see all of it, to communicate with our local, federal, and state partners. The governor and I have been in constant communication with each other. As you can see, our federal and our state partners are standing with us. The City Health Department has been working on our homeless service providers today, and homeless shelters are open. We did a massive outreach for the homeless individuals in the city. It's been underway since this morning, and we're transitioning people indoors out of harm's way. We're also mindful that we have 40,000 visitors in town. We are working with the CVB and the hospitality leaders to make sure that they have all the information they need to stay safe in New Orleans. Due to expected heavy winds and fast-moving nature of the storm, we all want our visitors to plan ahead and to be comfortable, notwithstanding the difficult conditions that we have. Therefore, the RTA, Uber, and Lyft are involved right now, but they will suspend transportation at 7 p.m., and residents and visitors should plan accordingly. So it's 3 o'clock right now, 3:15. You've got a couple of hours to do it, but now's the time to start getting yourself out of harm's way. Again, as I've said, and I can't stress this enough, we cannot do this without the residents' cooperation. We know what we have to do. We've been through this many, many times. Everybody should execute their plans because this is a potential high wind event. We now are seeing 35 to potentially 100. You potentially could have electrical outages. Carl Rice is here from Entergy. He will address those issues. They're well prepared. I'm proud of them. They have 1,800 strong standing ready. However, from 0 to 7 days, we don't know what's coming our way. People have to be prepared. If you have special needs or elderly, please sign up at the Special Needs Registry by calling 311. We'll have somebody address those issues. We have special needs shelters set up. And the next steps are going to be pretty simple. As the system develops, we're going to continue to monitor work with the National Weather Service and provide regular updates. Be sure to follow us at NOLA Ready. I would just say to the people, we've been through these many, many times. This storm is not going to bring us anything that we haven't seen before. It is really a matter of cooperation and execution, and hopefully we will come out of this. I have every confidence that our team is very well prepared, very well experienced, and we are ready to respond to whatever Nate brings us. So I thank all of you. The whole point is life safety. Our property can be replaced, but life safety is the most important thing. And out of the abundance of caution, I don't think I've ever said this before, but don't drive through standing water in the city. If there is water in an underpass, which will be blocked, please don't drive under the water. Something bad is going to happen to you. And please don't go out to the lakefront tonight. It's just going to be a bunch of waves bumping up and down. There's going to be a lot of wind. You've seen it before. But if you go out there and you happen to get dragged into the lake, bad things are going to happen. Nothing good can happen for you being out on the streets of New Orleans tonight. So I would caution you just to stay inside and hunker down, and let's ride this out together. And I'll wake up tomorrow morning safe, happy, and healthy. Thank you so much. Now, Aaron Miller with NOSEP. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. New Orleans Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness continues to urge all of our residents and visitors and businesses to stay prepared and informed as this event progresses. Stay tuned to your local media stations as well as at NOLA Ready. The city is committed to ensuring the safety of all of our residents and visitors, and the public is encouraged to help spread the word and pass around information to help keep the community better prepared. Throughout this event, the Emergency Operations Center will work with our local, state, federal partners such as FEMA, GOSEP, the National Guard, and the Army Corps of Engineers to continue to look at the changing risks, any vulnerabilities as they develop, and how we can keep residents safe. As was mentioned, the National Weather Service expects Hurricane Nate to make landfall as a Category 2. Out of an abundance of caution, emergency operational departments have continued to make haste in preparation for this event. We currently have 40 boats and 20 high water vehicles, along with other rescue supplies staged at various fire and police stations. As we do with all our emergency events, we're going to maintain constant communication, and the Emergency Operations Center will maintain 24-hour status throughout. Any changes in the storm track and intensity could drastically change impacts. Please, residents are advised to follow at NOLA Ready or text NATE to 888-777 to remain informed.
Thank you. Fred Ziegler, National Weather Service. Fred, you with us? Come on.
Good afternoon. Freddie Ziegler from the National Weather Service, New Orleans, Baton Rouge. I want to reiterate what the mayor has said today, that the conditions are deteriorating and will continue to deteriorate in the evening hours and the overnight hours. The worst conditions are expected between 7 p.m. and 3 a.m. with possible hurricane force gust winds across New Orleans East, and that's the extreme eastern portions of Orleans Parish. Again, I want to reiterate the threats that we're expecting are winds and surge. This has been a kind of a rapidly changing condition as far as the hurricane approaching the Gulf Coast. And each update, we've been kind of catching up as far as getting with the issuing a hurricane warning, and also upgrading the storm surge warning, and upgrading the values. And so this is because the storm has intensified, and also the fast rate of speed approaching the coast. Those are the two things I want to get across, and that's all I have today.
Thank you, Freddie. Chief Harrison, followed by Chief McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon. Since 7 a.m., the New Orleans Police Department has been at 100% staffing. We're working around the clock, split up into two 12-hour shifts, and we will continue normal operations until conditions are such where we cannot patrol, which means that it will be even more dangerous for citizens to be out during those conditions. And so we will be out monitoring all calls, answering citizens' calls for service. We are prepared to do any type of land or water rescue should the need arise. But when conditions get to such that we cannot be out, they're even more dangerous for the citizens to be out. Certainly we are admonishing everyone to stay in if you can. Do not be out if you don't have to be out. Certainly we understand that there are people who are working, who need to get to work, who need to get home from work, and we will help those people get home from work, but we want to admonish everyone to be indoors if you can. If there is water, please do not drive through it. Please do not drive fast through it. It will cause harm to your car and will cause damage to other cars, homes, and businesses. And we will certainly take swift and decisive action should we learn that citizens are doing that. We want everyone to stay safe. We're here to protect you, but we need your help in doing so. So thank you, and let's make smart decisions tonight.
Thank you. Chief McConnell.
I'd like to reiterate what the mayor said and thank the men and women in New Orleans Fire Department for their efforts. We called in our additional members at 7 o'clock this morning. We're prepared. We have our high water vehicles, our boats prepared to respond, to help people. But the biggest thing I want to say to folks is help us, help to keep you safe by listening to all the warnings. As the mayor said, it's time to hunker down and keep yourself safe. I said it yesterday, and I'd like to reiterate about generators. Generators are very dangerous. They kill in two ways. One, they start fires. People put them, they start them, they put them next to their homes, and the exhaust is very hot, catch the house on fire. We had that with the last major storm that came through. And then the carbon monoxide. They place them in such a way that the carbon monoxide enters the residence and people become overcome with the carbon monoxide, and it will kill you. So please be safe, help us to keep you safe, and everybody will be back to normal tomorrow, hopefully.
All right, Jeff Elder, then Paul Rainwater, followed by Jerry Gillen.
Good afternoon. This morning at 6 a.m., New Orleans EMS started our emergency staffing for hurricane operations. We'll continue that through the duration. We have ambulances, sprint SUVs, as well as high water vehicles and boats ready to respond as needed. I just want to remind everyone, again, as has been said, it's time to stay home. It is not time to go out. It is not time to do anything else except to stay home and stay safe. If you have any medical special needs and you feel like you may need something, please call 311 to register. We're continuing to do that all night, and there'll be somebody to answer your questions and get you on the registry. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to talk a little bit about power, then pumps, and then manpower. On the power side, right now we're operating turbine 1, turbine 3, and turbine 6, and 3 frequency changers are currently up. That's the 2 at the Carrollton plant and the 1 at Pump Station D. The mayor and I went out to Pump Stations 3, 6, and 7. Those are pump stations where we obviously work closely with the Corps of Engineers. There's really great cooperation between our operators and the Corps of Engineer operators, and the mayor and I the mayor did introduce who was going to be doing what, when, how, why, and also we talked about shift changes to make sure there's coordination there as well. We also made sure that everyone had the standing operating procedures that we've been talking about and understanding how things are supposed to transition when those things occur. Right now we're operating pumps at pump stations 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 12, 17, 19, and the Dwyer pumps. That's basically 6 25 cycle pumps and 9 60 cycle pumps. We'll continue to talk to our team. As I said yesterday, Central Control has there are 3 ways of communication right now. There's the monitor that we have up in Central Control and at our major pump stations. There are handheld radios for each one of the supervisors so they can communicate back, and then the regular radio system that was there before. Our National Guardsmen, the 15 National Guardsmen, are rotating through to look at what we consider to be vulnerable areas. Also working closely with the pump stations themselves to communicate any issues. Our contractors are out as well, looking at mechanical issues as they come up, and we are troubleshooting that on a minute-by-minute basis. And so we'll stay in close contact with the mayor and our team and keep you up to date. Thank you, sir.
Paul. All right, Jerry Gillen, the Flood Protection Authority, followed by Lieutenant Colonel Ken Bailey of the National Guard, and then Charles Rice.
Yes. Our employees have been working very hard the last 2 days, closing floodgates, valves, and all the complex marine structures. The entire hurricane and storm damage risk reduction system is closed except for one valve out at the Lakefront Airport, and that will be closed later today. The system is sealed, and we're ready for the storm surge.
Great, thank you, Jerry.